What's cracking, people? It's your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wing Man, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, I think that the more we delve into these scenarios of various degrees and levels of select men, of ASPs, of USPs, of quote-unquote masters of the universe, that opening statement that I wrote a while ago and that I've been using since I've been in this space will start to unfold and make sense more and more. Sort of a full circle, or coming to full circle. But in any case, I wanted to present part 2 of the Select Gigolo sort of response video. So in part 1, I briefly went over a review of Ron Will's video about the street gigolo and talked about various aspects of how that game or tech, as I call it, works in the modern space and in applicable settings. In this part, I wanted to cite some examples of men who have positioned themselves over the course of their personal lives and their careers and have upgraded, so to speak, along the way with their choice of women that they selected to be in their space. The first example I want to cite is Common. And, for most people who are familiar with Common, they would know that, he's definitely an MC from Chicago who was notably with Erykah Badu earlier on in his career, and after transitioning from her, got with Serena Williams. So the difference in net worth was give or take $80 million. So I'll just leave that out there and let that be what it is. We know that Common transitioned also from just being an MC into Hollywood, got his SAG card, and became an actor. And he's, been in many prolific roles as a bona fide Hollywood actor. Another man that I want to cite is Jay Electronica, who definitely is a star that rose from the humble beginnings in New Orleans, but interestingly enough, he also got with Erykah Badu, and beyond that, his career springboarded into the stratosphere. And he's, when he transitioned from Erykah Badu, he went to other women, but most notably, recently he was in a relationship with a woman who is a representative of one of arguably the wealthiest families on the planet, and that was Kate Rothschild. So when you think about a man who has the ability to make power moves like that, you can only imagine those conversations that they had behind closed doors. Those who are familiar with Jay Electronica and his lyricism understand that he's truly a genius mind. So imagine combining a genius mind with virtually limitless wealth, the virtual limitless wealth of a Rothschild. Unimaginable. So in any case, I'm citing examples of men who have vision and who were able to via either their looks or their mouthpiece, obviously the mouthpiece with Jay Electronica, were able to level up and to flip the game, as it would, whereas traditionally women were the ones who were able to date up and marry up. These are the level of select men who are able to flip their raw essence and their ability into more and more powerful relationships that ultimately allow these men to fulfill things that they had set out to do well before, the rubber meeting the road. Another example of this is definitely the actor Jesse Williams. And what Jesse Williams represents, in my opinion, is that ASP. Definitely the ASP. He's got the look, he's got the features, he's got the eyes that women go for and things like that. But he also has that charisma. And what was interesting is his transition took place literally in front of the world, where he his marriage actually with his ex-wife, Erin Drake Lee, was played out just like any other Hollywood marriage in front of everybody. But what people didn't realize was how homely Erin Lee was, and I'm being very modest with my speech when I refer to her looks and her demeanor. She was, or is, I believe, still a career professional woman who really supported him earlier on in his career, because Jesse Williams started out as a model and a teacher before he really got into acting. And anyone who looks at pictures of them two together can see that there was a stark difference in the looks department when you put both of them up next to each other side by side. He literally has Hollywood looks, and she is in the looks department. His ex-wife is below the girl next door. I mean, let's just be honest. So there was no question about what the dynamic of their relationship was. You know, she was the one who was providing value physically and monetarily for his presence, and there's no two ways that you can go about that. So eventually, when his acting career took off, he definitely transitioned out of that. Currently is with a woman named Taylor Page, who is this young 20-something hot mama who is on his arm and in bikini pictures and things like that. So another example of a man, going through stages and leveling up along the way. The last example I want to cite is a well-known example, especially again in Chicago. We got a theme about Chicago players, and this is Stephen Graham, and no one can take away the level of dedication to his purpose and his vision, because to understand the dynamic of his and Oprah Winfrey's relationship, we know that it's taken its course over a period of decades, and one can only imagine the amount of value exchange Oprah provided for Stephon, because even when they were first together or getting together in Chicago, the word on the street was that she was paying for all kinds of things: condos, trips, vacations. He wanted for nothing. Professionally, he's an attorney, and he's gotten off into philanthropy and setting up programs. But at the end of the day, the sky was the limit, and you could say that he, quote unquote, hit the select man jackpot, and in that he never had to marry her. Now, we don't know if they're legally married or not. That's a matter that they've always kept private. But we do know that Stephon has always been that showpiece for Oprah. He has always been that piece of arm candy at the black tie affairs. He's always been that classic man who has aged like wine, and has always been sort of that trophy when we think about Oprah Winfrey's relationships with men. So at the end of the day, when it comes to masters of the universe, or technicians as I refer to them as, men like this at this level tend to level up with the purpose of building something greater than had existed before. Now, a lot of content producers who live or exist in this YouTube sphere just outside of what I'm calling, and I'm going to try to coin it, the select manosphere, have been recently producing content coming at alphas, which is interesting. Saying that alphas don't make good relationships, or alphas are disappointing to some women, and I would counter that by saying the system as it exists is broken. What a lot of people consider relationships in this space, in this modern Western world, in this reality, is trash. And let me be the first to say that alpha men, select men, masters of the universe realize this at a very young age. And we position our relationship dynamics with multiple women on multiple different levels to suit the needs of our vision. And that's one of the biggest difference between a true alpha, a truly select man, a master of the universe, and the run-of-the-mill beta. Even if the beta is red-pilled, that's great that a beta is red-pilled. That's step one. However, you have to be able to step into your vision. You have to be able to grasp your purpose. You have to be able to embrace the path of masculine mastery and understand that this system as it exists does not exist for the purpose of producing alphas. It does not exist for the purpose of producing masculine masters. So if you want to go ahead and couple yourself down with the burdens of the traditional relationship model as it exists, go right ahead. Just know that you're not to be categorized with true alphas. You're not to be categorized with true masculine masters. You're not to be categorized per se with masters of the universe or select men. And in that, if you couple yourself with a quote unquote traditional woman, a woman who has the mentality of most women who are plugged into this system, your ability to produce your vision and to affect functional, valuable change in your environment and beyond will be stifled. That's the harsh truth that most men have to come to grips with, and that most men are battling against within themselves, and that battle is playing out, I believe, in the manosphere at large. That's why this select manosphere has to exist and it has to expand. But that's another conversation for another time. But as always, this is your man Cousin T saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.